If you just do it, it'll turn out okay. And today we are welcoming back, after a long vacation time, Dr. Dino.
Yes, hello there, folks. Sorry that the series has been on pause for a while. I've been pretty busy doing field work out in Wyoming.
Ooh. Have you found your own? Have you found your own species or genus of dinosaur yet?
Well, I found a lot of dinosaurs. Not sure if any of them are a new species yet or not, but hey, who knows?
Awesome.
Alrighty.
But today
Any?
we are getting back
Yeah, sorry. Go
to,
ahead.
and I think you have the power to control this if you want to.
I do. I do. Oh, that's fun. Oh, wait. Oh, did you download it from Google Docs or?
Yeah, but
Okay. I had some animations in here that
oh,
uh
you want to
aren't
redo it
gonna
then?
work.
I can.
I can just control it. Just a sec. Do do do. There's the share screen button. There. And would you mind just popping that up?
1 second. 1 second.
Alrighty. And to the people in the chat, yes, more time in Wyoming. I'm thinking of staying here permanently, or at least for now. We'll have to see. Turns out you can do a little bit of field work during the winter as long as there's not too much snow.
You can't dig in the snow.
It's not a good idea to dig in snow. It's pretty easy for fossils to get lost in the snow. The cold makes them more brittle, and just thawing and refreezing is really bad for fossils.
What water and ice is bad for rocks? That never heard of that before.
Yeah, they're pretty awful. Let's see. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get started, or should we begin?
Nothing really. Just if you want to donate to the channel, I have a PayPal, Venmo, and a Patreon down below. Want to buy stuff? We have wish lists. I should add yours if you have one or something to the description. But other than that, yeah, want to help both our channels out? Just feel free to. We
Yep,
won't
and
say
my
no.
channel is recently again remonetized. So if anyone has any dinosaur questions, feel free to send them in via super chat and they'll get highlighted for us.
Yeah,
Make it real easy
and
to
if you
answer.
yeah, if you want to share this channel with a lot of people, watch it 5 million times, so I can get remonetized again. So, yeah, I won't complain. But in the
It wouldn't be
meantime,
a bad thing.
let's get to some learning.
All right. So today, in today's
Oh,
episode, we're going to be
sorry.
going over one of the more famous groups of dinosaurs, though you probably don't recognize them by name.
At
The
least at least
Thyreophora,
at least the
or
group
the
name.
armored dinosaurs.
At least the group name. Once we get to the
Yes.
individual names, you might understand a few of them.
Oh, there'll be a few people recognizing here. This is the group that includes animals like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. Wow, I'm a paleontologist. My brain doesn't work sometimes. Oh yeah, right. I forgot to introduce myself. It has been a little bit. Should probably do that. I'm Dr. Dino, or Doc for short. I'm not an actual doctor, at least not yet, but I am a paleontologist. Again, doing work out in Wyoming. And I like to talk about dinosaurs and teach people about dinosaurs. So Vendali and I started this little series. And yes, as Tap says, ice is bad for rock or for fossils in the same way it's bad for roads. Very bad.
Oh, right. Oh, and this contains real fossils.
Yes, it does. So in my time doing field work out here in Wyoming, I found quite a few dinosaur fossils, some of which are from members of this group. And I have been given the okay to show some of them. My channel is monetized. So if you want to send super chats, I think you have to send them on my channel. I didn't see a button for yours, Vandalia.
Yep, I have. Unfortunately, I do not have the view count yet for YouTube to consider me important.
Well, I don't think he considers any of us important, but yeah, fair. So if you want to send a super chat with a dino question, you can do that on my channel, or you can just at one of us and we will see it. It's just that super chats highlight it, so it makes it easier to stand out from the rest of the chat. Anywho, so the Thyreophorans are the armored dinosaurs, again, like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. Um, I believe the name translates to shield bearer, which, kind of makes sense. And they get kind of weird for dinosaurs, at least. A lot of them get really heavy and thick with like 5 Cs. Is
Dinosaurs weird? That's it. That's impossible.
weirder than most. Most dinosaurs stay somewhat lightly built, at least more than you think they would for their size. But Thyreophorans go all in on just being super heavy. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel is gifting memberships over on my channel. Thank you, Tap. Just going to read these out quick. They went to Sydney Raptor, Native Atheist, Triceratops, Kanji Broth, and Ashton Richards. Thank you, a Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who, unlike me, is an actual doctor. And all right, shall we begin?
Sure.
Alrighty. So, it has been a little bit since we've had these. Okay, I'm sorry, I was about to start, but from Rana K in my chat, I'm trying to remember where I heard ankylosaurs described as coffee tables with attitude. I don't think I've heard that description before, but that is entirely accurate. That's great. Anywho, since it has been a while, what is a dinosaur? Dinosaurs are a group within archosaurs, which themselves are a subgroup of reptiles.
Which are a subgroup of
archosaurs,
amniotes, which are a subgroup of vertebrates.
true, but we're trying not to get too generalized here. Archosaurs are different from the other main group of reptiles, Lepidosaurs, by virtue of being, well, more upright in general. Even your average crocodilian still has a semi-upright gait. And they generally have a much higher metabolism as well. Not many archosaurs would have been what we call cold-blooded, whereas almost every modern reptile is. Though it turns out our modern crocodilians might be a really weird exception to that rule. But even then, they have a higher metabolism than other reptiles, so it's kind of funky.
If you want to hear more about the crocodiles, check out our last co-op episode. We talked about them and the pterosaurs.
That's right. And yeah, dinosaurs took over the world, as most people say, during the Mesozoic era, from about 220 to 65 or 66 million years ago. They were the dominant form of life on land. Some may have been semi-aquatic. We don't know any fully aquatic ones yet. Some learned how to fly, aka birds, and not birds, because of course dinosaurs had to evolve to fly multiple times, because of course they did. And today, we're focusing on one of the stranger body types within Dinosauria, the Thyreophorans.
And they are, Brent, when we talked about before, the ornithid, I still can't say that name.
It's okay. The Ornithischians. Which translates to bird hip, which, if you know anything about dinosaurs, you know that bird hip dinosaurs did not give rise to birds, but these categories were invented in the 1800s. It'd be more surprising if they completely held up today. Also, my glasses are reflecting, so I'm going to take them off.
Science is it's cool, but sometimes they have bad names.
Well, it's not a bad name. So, I can actually pull up an image here. So the structure of an ornithischian hip does look superficially like a bird hip, hence the name ornithischian. The problem is we only figured out a century later that it was a superficial resemblance. Ornithischian dinosaurs seem to have evolved this hip structure as a way to move their guts back farther into their body, and modern birds did the same thing. So, convergent evolution, what's that?
Yeah.
And we will see it when we get back to theropods eventually. But on the line towards birds, you do see their pelvis slowly transition to be more bird-like. It's very gradual, but it's pretty neat.
Hopefully we'll get to that part sometime in 2025. Given our schedules.
Oh wow, I thought you were joking, but no, 2025 is next year. Why? I don't like that. Oh, also, I see I have a paleontologist friend in the chat. Hey, Vanessa. She's another paleontologist who I have been doing a lot of field work with and have been learning a lot from. Some of the stuff in here I learned from her. Anywho. So now we're going to focus in more, not just on Dinosauria, now specifically on Thyreophorans. So these dinosaurs first appear in the early Jurassic. There might be some fragmentary members at the latest end of the Triassic, but I don't think any of that is confirmed right now.
Well, get on it in your next dig.
What was that?
Get on that in your next dig.
Maybe someday. Who knows? I usually deal with younger rocks than the late Triassic. Though there are some exposures nearby, so maybe. Anywho, pretty early on in their evolution, we see this major split within Thyreophora. One group goes tall and flat, and the other group goes short and flat. The tall ones are stegosaurs, and the short ones are ankylosaurs.
So do we know why they went their separate directions?
We don't, unfortunately, at least not right now. Sadly, this split happened or appears to have happened in the early/middle Jurassic, and we don't have a ton of rocks from that time period, at least not in most parts of the world. Also, Tap has done his thing again, and he is sharing more memberships. Well, one went to The Random Wolf, so thank you, Tap. I don't see any others. It's kind of odd. Well, hopefully they show up sometime. Anyway, no, we don't know why the split occurs.
Yeah, no dinosaur journals saying why the feud happened and why they went their separate directions.
Unfortunately, the fossil record is horrifically incomplete. With that said, one of the earlier Thyreophorans we do have is called Solidosaurus, up here. This depiction is from the game Prehistoric Kingdom. It's in early access on Steam, and they're doing a fantastic job of bringing all kinds of prehistoric creatures to life with just stunning degrees of accuracy. Genuinely some of the best dinosaur designs I've seen in any game ever. And this is just one of the ones they knocked out of the park. Even so, with this Solidosaurus can be either. Even though it's one of the earliest members of the group we have, it's already super derived. It's already evolved a ton of the traits that continue through the rest of Thyreophora. It's covered in armored spikes. It's very low to the ground. And it has very short rear legs, even though it appears to have been a biped, which is kind of interesting.
So this is before it decided to go back to its quadrupedal lifestyle.
Yes, it appears to be. With that said, at least with the Stegosaur lineage, it appears that many of them still retained some bipedal abilities all the way to the end. Now, by some, I don't mean that they were running around on their hind legs, though I've heard they might have done that as babies. I don't know if there's any research to support that. But they could at least rear up, even as adults, even some of the later ones. Ankylosaurs, they really hunker down with the armor, so much so that they can't do that anymore.
So, what are the closest group of dinosaurs to this group?
To this group, well, let me go back a page. I will say that this is somewhat outdated, but for our purposes, it's still pretty decent. Sorry, this chart. Thyreophorans are probably the earliest branch of Geniosauria,
So
which includes most of the things we consider to be ornithischian dinosaurs. There are some very early things that split off beforehand called the heterodontosaurs, which we have talked about before. They're honestly little rat-like things with these big fangs that appear to have been covered in feathers. So Thyreophorans might have lost that secondarily, which is kind of interesting, because we actually have some with beautiful skin impressions that don't show any feathers.
So these are basically the first group that branched off from the O dinosaurs.
After heterodontosaurs, yes. So they're more basal than like your typical duck-billed dinosaurs. They're more basal than your ceratopsians, and more basal than your pachycephalosaurs. They branched off early, and they went off and did their own thing. Well, they did a couple of their own things. One of these kind of sputtered out, the other lasted to the very end of the age of dinosaurs. We'll see which is which soon. Yes, this is the basic split. And from here in the presentation, we're going to be going down the Stegosaur line first, then the Ankylosaur side.
Because they were in the Jurassic, and the one the Cretaceous.
There are Jurassic Ankylosaurs. They don't get talked about very much, but they do exist. And there will be, I think, a couple of those in this presentation, actually.
Cool. Okay, you out there in the press, speak up again for the Jurassic Ankylosaurs more. Why don't you? No one talks about them.
No more Ankylosaur censorship. All right. And here is one of the earliest stegosaurs we have. This is Huyangosaurus from China. Huyangosaurus is, well, like I just said, a very early stegosaur. It's so early that it might have been a facultative biped. A lot of its weight is still pretty far back over its hips, and its arms are actually really lightly built. We do know, though, that it had tall, thin plates on its back and a lot of spikes. Some of these spikes may have been over the hips. They may also have been shoulder spikes. We're not sure. I don't believe they were found in place. But we do know that it did have a lot of tail spikes. And you will see these tail spikes in every stegosaur, and kind of in some ankylosaurs. For whatever reason, this lineage decided to weaponize their tails. And some of them got pretty crazy with it. According to Vanessa, Jurassic ankylosaurs are at the Museum of the Rockies. That does not surprise me at all. I know the Wyoming Dinosaur Center has one too, but Vanessa doesn't like that museum very much. Anyway, yes, this is an early stegosaur. It's from about 160 million years ago, which is another thing you're going to notice with this presentation. You can see the age that each dinosaur is from up here. All of the stegosaurs are going to be in a very narrow span of time. Very narrow. Which is kind of weird. And we're already to the end of the Jurassic. This is Kentrosaurus. This one comes from East Africa and was a very, very spiky dinosaur. I'm not sure if it has the most spikes of any known stegosaurid, but it sure does have a lot of them. I believe it... let's see, does this have the right count? Yes, I believe it is 6 spikes, or 6 pairs of spikes from the back to the tail, and then another pair of spikes on the end of the tail. It also had some very small little plates. And we actually have a lot of Kentrosaurus. We have a couple dozen specimens, or a couple dozen individuals, I believe. So I think it is one of the most populous stegosaurs as well. Also, the people are planning my doom in the chat. That's lovely. Anyway,
so this side halfway down the plate side, like, you know what? I'll put no more plates. I'm going for spikes now.
Yeah, pretty much. Stegosaurs. I haven't looked at the structure of the plates myself, but it appears to be that the spikes were really easy to turn into plates, and the plates were really easy to turn into spikes. And they just did it all the time. There's a bunch of stegosaurs that only have 4 spikes on the end of their tail. There's a ton that are covered in spikes. It just seems to be a super variable thing, which is really weird because these would have been super expensive to produce just biologically. These would have taken a ton of calories and a ton of resources. Oh, and that is a good question, Mark Agamotto. So Mark in the chat is asking if the plates were for heat transfer. Probably not. At least with stegosaurids like Stegosaurus specifically, their plates appeared to have been covered in thick sheets of keratin, the same stuff that makes up your fingernails. Keratin isn't really great at absorbing heat or transferring heat. It's kind of more of a biological insulator. That's why we have hair made out of keratin.
So they weren't like... sorry, they weren't. So they were like the sails and the and like... oh god, Dimetrodons.
So with Dimetrodon and early synapsids, there's a chance those might have been for heat transfer.
Or they might have been
a better chance, I would say, because we know they had at least some degree of skin between the sails. But we don't know for certain. They were all, those
might have
were
been for sexual selection, showing off.
So with stegosaurids, it seems likely, at least to me, they were probably for display. At least the plates. The spikes were fully functional weapons, and we have fossil evidence that they were used as such.
I wonder if they are used more for defense or more for competing against other stegosaurs.
I mean, could be a combination of both, honestly. I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in the fossil record we just don't know, but usually when animals make big, flashy structures, they use them to display. I mean, why would you build a billboard if you're not going to put an ad on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and this is also another stegosaur, a much later one that might have been a facultative biped. There's been a lot of research put into Kentrosaurus since we have so many animals, and it seems to have been very much able to just rear up on its hind legs and maybe walk for short periods of time. Now, that could have just been for getting food, it might have just been for the males when it came to sexy time, but it appears it was easy for them to rear up, which is kind of interesting. It's not something you see very often. There's a lot of stuff you don't see depicted very often with Thyreophorans. Um,
Tapioca has a
oh,
question.
oh, okay. How many does Kent reference Kent? Oh, never mind. Never mind. I lost the pun game. Thank you. Thank you, Tap. Um anyway, if you're interested in learning more about Kentrosaurus specifically, I have a second channel with a few other paleontologist friends where we talk about dinosaur depictions in media. And we have an episode on Kentrosaurus. I've given Vandalia the link to this presentation. I'll put the link in my description as well. If any of you are interested in seeing that video, check it out. We go pretty in depth. I think we talk about it for like 40 minutes. And next, we have a very interesting stegosaur. This is Miragaia. And the weird thing about this one is it seems to have converged with sauropods a little bit. Because Miragaia has the longest neck of any known stegosaur, or, well, Thyreophorine. Full stop, actually. Okay, and no, Tap, Kentrosaurus is not named after Kenthovend. I gotta nip this in the bud. So, Kentro here is an alternative spelling of, I think it's Latin, centro, Centro. You can see this in words like Centrosaurus, Centromere, stuff like that. Kentrosaurus got the alternative spelling because Centrosaurus, another dinosaur, was already named, and they didn't want to change the name, I guess. It basically just translates to spiked lizard. And yes, Doctor Dino is a parody of Kenthovend. Yes, Tap, you know this. Wait, why are you... Tap, why are you trying to send Vanessa a massage gun? What are you doing to me? Okay. Miragaia. Miragaia. So, unfortunately, this stegosaur is also kind of fragmentary. We have the neck, we have some limb elements, and some other vertebrae, and I believe we also have a couple of tail spikes. But beyond that, we don't really have a ton of it. And it's listed on here as potentially or possibly dubious because some researchers have argued it should just be considered another species of another stegosaur called Dawcentrurus, which is hard to say.
Mhm.
But I don't know where that research is going to go eventually, so I just put it in here because the neck is neat. And I really like the name. It's named after the town of Miragaia, and I just think it's pretty.
So, in in Portugal.
Yes.
So we've gone all over your races so far. We have China, Africa, and Europe now.
Yes. I believe stegosaurs are known from every continent. Well, actually, no, they're known from Asia, Europe, Africa, North America. I don't know if there are any known from South America, Australia, or Antarctica.
So none in the marsupial group of continents.
None that I know of. South America and Antarctica, I wouldn't be surprised if they showed up. Australia is a bit weirder. A lot of dinosaur groups seem to have never made their way over to Australia. Let me just double check. Do 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 do. I'm just curious if there are any South American stegosaurs, and I'm just blanking on them. I'm not seeing any. Now, that doesn't mean that they weren't there. I know we do have ankylosaurs from South America. But I don't know.
Maybe that's why the marsupials migrated there to get away from all dinosaurs.
Well, there were still dinosaurs in Australia. I just don't know of any stegosaurs. We will actually have an Australian ankylosaur in this presentation. A really beautiful one, actually. And a South American ankylosaur. And now we get to the big one. Everybody knows this dinosaur. This is Stegosaurus. There are a few species, actually, which are kind of interesting. Stegosaurus is a Bone Wars dinosaur, meaning it was discovered during the Bone Wars in the, I believe, late 1800s, led by Edward Cope and Charles Othniel Marsh, if I can remember the name. It was Othniel Charles Marsh, I think. Anyway, a pair of paleontologists whose names will appear again, especially when we talk about sauropods. There are.
Sydney has some. Sydney has some facts to share with the group.
Ancient koalas killed off all the large land carnivores in Australia. I mean, maybe, maybe.
So this is the one that gave the name to the whole group of family.
Stegosaurus, yes. The name means roofed lizard because when it was first found, they thought that the plates would have laid flat on the back, which, not a bad idea. Kind of going off of some ankylosaurs that had already been found. So, not a bad idea. But then we found ones that were better articulated, better put together. And no, the plates were vertical, hanging up in the air. And as has already been brought up in the chat tonight, some people thought, hey, maybe these were to warm it up in the morning because this was a cold-blooded, slow animal and it needed that. It, in fact, was not a cold-blooded or slow animal, and it did not need that. And like I already said, the plates weren't covered in skin. They didn't really get much blood flow on the surface because they were covered by thick chunks of keratin. Again, like your fingernails. They were probably brightly colored, though. They were probably really excellent for display.
So on here, the spikes are mainly focused on the tail, and the rest of the back is pure plates, looks like.
Yes, like I said earlier, there's a ton of variation in stegosaurs. And Stegosaurus is on the much more platey end of the spectrum. And As I say here in this first paragraph, we're already at the largest and most famous member of this group. Despite how famous Stegosaurus is, stegosaurs are a fairly small group of dinosaurs. They don't seem to have been super diverse, and they didn't last for very long. They appear to have died out in the early Cretaceous, which is kind of weird because most other groups of dinosaurs last at least closer to the end of the Cretaceous. It's really odd. And we're not sure why they went extinct. Some people have proposed that they were outcompeted by like evolving duck-billed dinosaurs or ankylosaurs. Some people propose that there were some massive climatic shifts and it just wreaked havoc on them because of how they were built. We don't really know, and it's unfortunate. And I know Vanessa in the chat thinks that evolution just kind of gave up on them, but I don't think evolution works like that.
Yeah, this real fast. This dinosaur is in a lot of memes. With I've seen where they say T-Rex lives closer to you than to this guy.
That's true. You can see on the little time span up here, the Cretaceous is about as long as the Jurassic and Triassic put together. Well, it's a little shorter than that, but it is the longest period. T-Rex lived all the way here at the end, about 66 million years ago. Stegosaurus lived about 145 to 150 million years ago. So about 80 to 85 million years before T-Rex. So we're 20 million years closer in time to T-Rex than T-Rex ever was to Stegosaurus.
So if you ever see a movie with them together, unless it's Jurassic Park, it never happened.
Yep. Let's see. What's that sequence in Fantasia that has a bunch of dinosaurs mixed together? I think it's something spring. I don't remember what it's called, but it's I think it has a Stegosaurus with a T-Rex, and this was before we knew T-Rex had 2 fingers, so it has 3.
I think there's also one. Wasn't there one in the King Kong movie too? I think one of the old kaiju movies that had them meeting. I think.
Yeah, I think one was in King Kong, but to be fair, King Kong it's not trying to be scientifically accurate. And yeah, Vanessa is reiterating her opinions. Yep. Oh, you've dug 2 of them up. I didn't know you dug 2 of them up. You'll have to tell me about those. Anywho, Stegosaurus, despite being the most famous stegosaur, is not the last one. And I forgot about this. Great, good job, me. In my time out here in Wyoming, I found bits of stegosaurs, bits of a stegosaurus. Right here in my hand is a chunk of plate, chunk of a stegosaurus plate, about this big.
Do we know if it's near the front or near the back plate?
I have no idea. It is a tiny chunk of bone, smaller than a potato chip. But even so, you can see the really deep grooves in it from blood vessels that would have fed those huge keratin sheaths. And then up here in this corner, in the same formation, is a cycad that Grayson and I found. Grayson, based theory, friend of the channel. That's actually, those are his boots up there. But yeah, we found a bunch of cycads out here while we were looking for dinosaurs. And it was, I think this one was like 50 feet away from where I picked up this chunk of plate. Anyway, speaking of one of the last stegosaurs, we have Werehosaurus. So this is a smaller stegosaur from the early Cretaceous of Central Asia. It's been found in China and Mongolia. Apparently, we have quite a few specimens, though I've never seen more than a few. I don't know if they just haven't made it over to this side of the internet yet or what. But it's possibly the last stegosaur, and it still lived about 130 million years ago. So, still farther away in time from T-Rex than T-Rex is to us.
It looks like this one that is going back into the bipedal a little bit.
The art just has it rearing up.
Okay.
Like I said, stegosaurs were still able to rear up pretty easily, even towards the end. So the artist just chose to depict it in a fun pose because, let's see, this is Vladimir Nikolov. I got this off of his DeviantArt page. I forget what his DeviantArt handle is, but he's got some fabulous art actually. One of the few notable things about Werchosaurus, then, besides the being one of the last stegosaurs, is that it had low rounded plates. And for a while we thought that they were like these kind of brick-shaped plates. That turns out to have just been based on a broken plate. And we decided that that's what all the plates looked like for some reason. The actual plates probably would have had a more conventional stegosaur shape. Oh, and Vanessa is wanting to drag me out to the field next week so I can show her the plate fragment. If we can find it, if we don't get snowed out, sure. Anyway, later. She is moving, so she is busy.
What's later then?
Oh? Well, she's probably already left. But anywho, so this is Werchosaurus, and this is the last of the stegosaurs for this video. And the last of the stegosaurs for any video, sadly enough. I wish they were more diverse. I wish there were more of them, but sometimes evolution just has a dead end. It's unfortunate, but it happens. The next group, however, is extremely successful. To make use of an analogy I heard yesterday, ankylosaurs are the brother that went to Harvard. Stegosaurs are the brother that died in a meth lab explosion in their 20s. And yeah, here we start with the ankylosaurs. But we're starting with a really weird one. This is Jacopil. It's a very new ankylosaur from Argentina.
One you can hug, apparently.
Yes, you could. It's the size of a large dog. It's absolutely adorable, and I love it. But even though it looks like it should be one of the earliest members of the group, this guy's from the late Cretaceous. It's about 90-ish million years old. Which seems kind of crazy, because we don't have a lot of latest surviving ankylosaurs that look like this guy. But an important thing to remember in evolution is that just because some members of a clade specialize, doesn't mean they all have to. Like, we still have rats and mice today, even though a ton of modern mammals have ancestors that look like mice and rats. Some things just stay consistent because they work. And apparently, these little guys worked. And yeah, I don't know. I love Jacopil. I'm not sure why. It's just one of my favorite dinosaurs. And it's absolutely adorable. Like, just look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's so handsome. Also has super tiny arms, which is kind of interesting.
So we are bipedal again.
Yep.
These are definitely not rolling up in their hind legs. You're definitely.
Yeah, they're definitely not quadrupeds. But they're pretty neat. Just checking something. Oh, Sydney Raptor is listing everything found in the Rite of Spring. Yeah, that sounds about as accurate as I thought it would be.
That's one. That's one big dinosaur name. Not spaces.
Lumbeosaurus, Massospondylus, Plateosaurus, Griposaurus, and Montosaurus, Parasaurus, Stegosaurus, Ornithomimus, Archaeopteryx, Psittacosaurus, Camptosaurus, Ankylosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, Space, Rex, Ceratosaurus, Ankylosaurus, Corythosaurus, Dimorphodon, Troodon, Oviraptor. Ooh, I agree, Mark. Ark needs to add Jackapil. It'd be so cute. Anywho, it's not the only weirdly basal ankylosaur that lasts into the later Cretaceous. We're over to Australia now. And for the record, Jackapil was in Argentina. This is Cunbarasaurus. I'm sure Sydney will want to correct my pronunciation there. But yeah, it's another basal, late surviving ankylosaur. It had longer legs than you'd expect from most ankylosaurs, but it still had thick chunks of armor covering its entire body. And it's also the first of a trend that we see with ankylosaurs. They tend to go one of two ways. They will either be immaculately preserved, like just perfectly. Every bone is in place exactly where it would have been in life. Or they'll just be tiny little chunks scattered all over everywhere and you can barely tell that they're bone. Somehow we get both in the same clade. Fortunately, Cunbarasaurus is one of the pretty ones.
Would this wildlife want you dead?
No, this wildlife is friend-shaped. It's the size of a large sheep. This wants to be your friend and would be a fantastic pet.
I don't know. Sheep might want you. I don't know. Sheep can be a little. I don't know. Sheep might want you dead.
Nah, this one's a sweetie pie. Speaking of which, this is Stegosaurus. We're back to South America.
So, so an Ankylosaurus that decided like he likes the other name better.
I mean, that's the joke. I like the name. It's kind of cute. Stegosaurus. I forget what its species name is. Let me check. Excuse me. Stegosaurus elengasen. So the elegant roofed tail. This is a tiny ankylosaur, the size of a small dog, with a battle axe for a tail. Because of course it did.
So is that thing skip the tail or more back armor?
That's the tail. Let me get another visual. If I can spell its name right, somehow I always manage to misspell it. But yeah, that's the tail. It is absolutely adorable, and I love him so much.
Oh, I forgot to ask. As far as we know, these are all mainly all this whole clay is mainly plant eaters. No meat eaters in this group.
Both stegosaurs and ankylosaurs are completely herbivorous, as far as we know. Like with all herbivores, they might have munched on some meat on rare occasions, but they were built to eat plants. They weren't built to chase anything down. Though they could probably kill pretty well. And yeah, this is Stegosaurus, and again, it lived in the really late Cretaceous, about 70 million years ago. Despite it being one of the most basal things in this entire presentation, it survived all the way to the end. Apparently something about their body just worked. They probably would have lived a lot like sheep, to be honest. Calling Kudmarosaurus a sheep probably isn't very far off. They probably lived in big herds. And that's probably what kept them alive for so long. And now we finally go back into the Jurassic. With Gargoyleosaurus. Gargoyleosaurus lived alongside Stegosaurus. It lived in the Morrison Formation of the United States. But you never see it in dinosaur media that takes place around that time. It just doesn't show up. They always focus on Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, Brachiosaurus, or Apatosaurus. But this guy should be everywhere.
Again, come on, press. Share the love. Go get the press out. What's that word? Advertise.
Yeah, advertise the little spiky guys. Stand up for the spikes. And Gargoyleosaurus also starts another trend with ankylosaurs. A lot of them have really good names. I meant to put together a list of my favorite names at the end. I kind of forgot. But we'll go through some of the names at the end because they're just fun. They're great. And I agree, Eddie McCoy. A lot of them look like Pokemon. Like, you could just plop this into a Pokemon game and it would fit perfectly.
Or Digimon.
Yeah, probably.
So who are these guys trying to eat our friendly dinosaur here?
Those are Allosaurus. Which, I'm not sure how many episodes since we get to Allosaurus, but Allosaurus is a bastard. He's a bastard man. And actually, on that other channel I was talking about earlier, we have an episode on Allosaurus too. It's our best performing episode. So that was fun.
We got a question.
All you really need to know about it is that it fought with everything. And I do mean everything in its environment.
What
and they were not afraid to die.
Which one? What's the defender or the attacker? Fought everything.
The attackers, the Allosaurus. Anyway. So now we're back in the Cretaceous.
We have a question.
Oh, we do?
Yep.
Who names these dinosaurs? Nerds. Paleontologists are all massive nerds, and we like to have fun with the names we make. You can see that with Gargoyleosaurus here. Jacopil is a fun name. Dracorex, which I see Mark Reed in the chat. I know he's had to deal with creationists talking about Dracorex before, just because of the name. There was one I debated. There was an ankylosaur I debated putting in this presentation called Dracopelta. The name means dragon hide. That's so much fun. Paleontologists are massive nerds. It's what we do. And now, this animal somehow manages to be one of my favorite and one of my least favorite dinosaurs of all time. This is Sauropelta. Sauropelta is the thing I have found the most of this summer, bar Nothing. Bar none. I found the most Sauropelta out of anything else.
Right.
I have found too many Sauropelta.
We got another question.
Yes. As Gargoliosaurus, the Klingon of the Dino World, I don't know. I have never seen Star Trek, and you may call me a heretic.
Gasp.
Uh,
I haven't seen anything. Well, I haven't seen any Star Trek in the past 10 years.
I haven't seen it in any years, so. But at any rate, Sauropelta. This animal is a living boulder. And by that I mean it is short, round, and covered in spikes. And those spikes hurt if you sit on them. And I'm speaking from an unfortunate amount of experience when I say that.
Yeah, real fast. Hopefully, your statement won't lose you all your subscribers now, just because you said that. That's probably not.
What, that a dinosaur can be annoying? I know
No,
a dinosaur can be annoying. I've met me.
No, I mean that they don't like Star Trek.
Oh. I mean, I don't have anything against it. I just haven't
I
watched
know,
it.
just joking. Unless they're a Star
Also,
Wars
I
fan,
have
then people are like, yeah, it sucks. No, okay.
So I have to do something super quick. I will be right back in like a minute. If anyone has any dinosaur questions, once again, feel free to ask them. Send in a super chat if you want. Any super chats I get this winter are going to help field work next year.
Yep.
So I will be right back.
Like I said, he said send in super chats or just join our Patreon. If he has, I don't know if he has one. If he doesn't, I think we have Patreon and Venmo, PayPal. I have a merch store. When I buy a T-shirt or a coffee mug or a hat, and I want to get something off of my wish list of Amazon, Steam, I will say no. And as always, like the video, share it with a 1,000 friends. If you have 1,000 friends, give us both thumbs up and comment. Obviously, the almighty YouTube algorithm. All praise the algorithm.
Okay, I am back. Sorry
The
about
God
that.
above gods, the algorithm of YouTube.
Yes, I'll praise the algorithm. Anyway, I wanted to bring something special to this presentation. So on the following page is one picture of dinosaur bones for every Sauropelta I have found this summer. I found 6 of these things. It's too much. They're too spiky. They get everywhere.
Did you take all these pictures?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I'm gonna exit the presentation super quick so we can zoom in on the pictures because some of them are kind of neat. So starting up here is one of the osteoderms, one of the chunks of armor it would have had in its skin. Over here are a bunch of bits from a different Sauropelta. This big chunk of bone is part of a scapula, and this is part of one of these huge shoulder spikes up here with a rock hammer for scale. Over here are some leg bones that I found eroding out of a hillside. It's a different Sauropelta, so that's number 3. Let's see. Yep, here's part of number 4. I believe this is part of the hip eroding out of the hillside. And I say I believe because most of it is still covered by rock, and I'm not going to try to excavate it because this rock is really tough. But you can also see these things had big hips. Like, where did I left it in my car. I don't have a small rock hammer. Over here is another sauropelta. Here's some ribs coming out of the hillside. And lastly, here are some chunks of tail vertebrae, also coming out of a hillside. Again, I have found 6 of these things, at least, maybe more. You get sick of it after you sit on their spikes a few too many times.
So did you get blood on these things on your fossils?
Fortunately, no, but they did hurt.
If they were alive and they stabbed you, would you get blood on them?
They would probably chop you in half. So the thing is, most of the spikes that you see, especially in museums, are just the bony core. The full spike would have been covered in sharp keratin. And we know that actually from the next dinosaur that I'll be showing here. So a lot of the spikes you see would have been even bigger in life and sharper, which kind of makes me shudder. But yeah, trauma. Also, Mark Agamotto says I have great choice in tools. Um, I mean, it's a good rock hammer. I did not buy it for myself though. It was a gift from a friend. But I will let them know. Anywho, this one is a special one. I've shown it on streams on my own channel before because I cannot get enough of this dinosaur. This is Borealopelta, and we only know it from one specimen, but it is one of the most spectacular fossils that has ever been found. So, for a bit of background, this dinosaur was found in an oil sands mine in a marine deposit, which is really weird because this was not a marine dinosaur. It's what we call a bloat and float. That's what happens when an animal dies, usually near a river, falls in, and then floats out to sea. Now, because this is an ankylosaur and the upper half of its body is covered in really heavy, really tough armor, it would have floated out on its back. And big ocean going predators wouldn't have really been able to get to its meaty underbelly very well. So it just floated out like a plate with food on it until eventually it popped and sunk to the ocean floor. And it sunk down back first, and it became one of the most well-preserved dinosaurs. Now, I'm not even say that. One of the most well-preserved fossils that has ever been found. And I'm going to zoom in on some images of this. Well, you know, I'll just get the actual image here. Oh, thank you, Dr. Tap, for gifting a membership. I'll see where that went here in just a moment. The body would have been a floating paradise for seagulls. That's true. Obstinate Sparrow. Also, that membership went to nobody. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why that didn't send to anyone. I mean, you sent memberships earlier, Tap. But I don't know if something just broke or what. Okay, here we go. So this is a fossil. But it looks like it just died. It looks like it just died. But no, this is a fossil that was preserved in rock and had to be excavated. This skeleton is so well preserved. We know what color it was. Every part of this that's been preserved, we know what color it was in life. This dinosaur was a beautiful rusty brown. It has keratin perfectly preserved covering the spikes on its body. So much so that we can just take them off the bone and see how much extra keratin is there. And we can see that those spikes darken toward the tips. So we know they aren't just monotone.
Real fast. I
Yes?
think Tapioca brings a good point. That's probably why he can never gift me a membership to either this channel or the Maya's channel, because I think I have a brand now. That's probably why I cannot accept YouTube gifts memberships.
Huh,
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm a branded channel. Maybe. Yeah. I've been around since the beginning, so I don't know. But that's off the topic now.
Also, wait, I just gotta check something. Tap, are you trying to gift memberships at my second tier? I didn't know you could gift memberships that high. Let's see. Everything should be enabled on my end. I mean, you sent them earlier. Yeah, no, they should be working. I don't know why they're not. Huh. Sydney Raptor's right. You need to have your account set to receive memberships. I don't know. Don't know how you set that up.
Yeah.
Okay, Tap's trying again. Does it only let you gift at the lowest tier, Tap? Because at least from what I'm seeing, you're trying to gift what was it? Associate Wings. Have you tried the unaccredited Nuggets tier? Huh. Okay, that's just weird. Yeah, Tap's sending me stuff. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know what's going on. YouTube is being YouTube, I guess. AKA, it's not working. Huh. Well, such is YouTube, I guess. I don't know why it does these things. Nobody does. Oh, well, he's trying again. It doesn't look like it went to anybody. I mean, I appreciate you trying to send them, Tap. If they don't go to anyone, I hope you get refunded for them. At any rate, this is what Boreal Pelta would have looked like in real life. These are the colors that its body has preserved, which is absolutely incredible to me, to be honest. Like it's just it's still hard for me to believe that we can actually know what color some dinosaurs were. Like growing up, I always thought that was something that we would never know. But we do. We do now, at least for some of them. And now, possibly my favorite. Oh, sorry. Did you have a question there, Vandalia?
Yeah. So unlike the Stegosaur group, there's no specific dinosaur named Ankylosaurus here in this group.
There is. Ankylosaurus is a dinosaur. It's still a valid dinosaur. I just decided to not put it in the presentation because everyone knows Ankylosaurus,
Okay,
and I didn't have a shortage of Ankylosaurs to use.
just want to make sure. Just want to make sure that I there was a name called that. What is this group name? And there was a like you had the actual Stegosaurus in the Stegosaurus group, but so I know it was an actual Ankylosaurus in the Ankylosaurus group.
Yes, and actually, I can show it really quick. Like I said, it's not in the presentation just because everyone has seen Ankylosaurus.
Well, everyone's seen Stegosaurus too, but you guys still added it.
Well, true, but I also had like 12 Stegosaurs to choose from, and I had like 50 Ankylosaurs.
Ah, okay.
There. Ankylosaurus magniventris. The fused lizard with a big belly. Because of course that's its name, and it's fun. Anyway, Borealopelta. Fabulous dinosaur. I've talked about it before on many other streams just because I love it. I love it so much. But there is another dinosaur on this list. This is Zool crurivastator. And just Vendalia, any idea what that name might mean?
Is it from Ghostbusters?
It actually is. The species name, which this is the only species name on this presentation, its full name translates to Zool, Destroyer of Shins, which is just absolutely fabulous. Zool is known from, I believe, just one still extremely complete specimen. It was found during another dinosaur's excavation. They removed some rocks above or on the hill above just to get, at their animal better, and they found a new dinosaur. And the really special thing about Zool is that the specimen we have has injuries. It has impact injuries on its sides.
From its own kind.
That seems to be the most likely cause, yeah. So we have preserved in this animal evidence of social behavior, that they fought each other. And that's just not something we get in a lot of fossils, unless it's something really obvious, like tooth marks or claw marks. But no, with this guy, we just have evidence of two of them standing side by side and whacking each other in the sides.
We have another question.
Great. Where's Gozer the Gozerian? I don't know. I just love this name, and I love this guy. That is the end of the dinosaurs in the presentation. But I did want to just shout out some other fun ankylosaur names, if that's okay.
All right.
Because there's a lot of them. Let me see if I can find just a list of ankylosauria.
On your last page of your sources you have.
That was supposed to be a list of names. I forgot to finish it before we streamed.
Maybe next. Don't worry, you have at least 2 or 3 months for our next stream.
Come on. There's got to be a list of them somewhere. Well, we'll just go with Wikipedia. And apologies the bright
knowledge of all scientific knowledge.
Yeah. So there's a bunch on here. There's Stigoros that we looked at earlier. There's Antarctopelta, the armor of the Antarctic, which I kind of like that. There's Gargoyleosaurus, Gastonia, Panoplosaurus here, which I think is just shield lizard again. Hoplitosaurus, after the hoplites. Sauroplites. Come on. One of my favorites. This one called Animantarx. The name just translates to walking city, which I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, Texacetes, Atagapelta.
Hey, real
Oh, here's a
fast.
fun one. Tatonkacephalus,
Can you scroll up a little bit?
the bison head. What was that?
Can you scroll up a little bit? I saw something. Oh, that's what
Sure.
about. We're a little bit more. Okay, right. What's the difference between an Ankylosaurus, an Ankylosauridia, and like the three Ankylosaurus?
Oh, Ankylosaurid and Nodosaurid?
No, down the three Ankylosaurus the Ankylosaur at the base, and then down there a little bit more is the Ankylosauridia.
Ankylosaurinae.
Yeah.
Those are the most derived ankylosaurs. There are a few in here. Here's a fun one, actually. Crichton Pelta, named after Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park fame. Cychania, which is actually kind of a famous one. You see it in a lot of media. Tarkia. This one has a really big nose. Talorurus, which I think is just a fun name. Yeah, there's a few others.
Right. While we're looking at this stuff, you want advertising up on your channel?
I mean, I'm working on a few things. I've kind of got a second job now for the winter to try and make some more money, so I've been really busy. But I am trying to find time to make new content when I can. Nothing specific at the moment, though. How about you?
Next Saturday, I'll be having my season 12 finale of the podcast because I usually take a break in December for holidays and stuff. But for the next Saturday, Jillian back on my channel, and we'll be talking about in time for Thanksgiving the Mayflower Compact and all the stuff it has and it affects our future, affects today.
Okay.
So a little bit more recent history than these guys, but not that recent.
Oh, also, hey, look, here's Stegopelta. That would never get confusing.
So, when we meet again, we like to switch back and forth. I picked this topic, so what's your? You get to pick the next topic to talk about.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how far into the future we want to go.
What do you think? Free in January, sometime in January.
Oh, I was meaning like with the next group, like how far you wanted to go. Since we're in the Jurassic, we could do ceratopsians next, actually.
All right, keep it
Or
keep it,
the Marginocephalians from the Jurassic to the Cretaceous. That could
keep
be
it
fun.
in the Ornithian family.
Ornithischians, yeah. But I think that's all for my end. Does anyone in the chat have any last questions or anything? want to chat about? If not, I think we're pretty much good.
All right. Speak now and forever hold your peace.
And, while we wait for them to respond, I'm gonna have some tea that I've meant to be sipping on through this, but I forgot. And yes, I am drinking it right out of I forget what it's called. The thing you make tea out of.
Kettle, pot.
Yes. Sticking with tasty herbivores. I mean, apparently they were tasty. We have some evidence that T-Rex just ripped the heads off of Triceratops to eat them.
Yep. Definitely, those two definitely hang out together, like the Stegosaurus.
Well, they definitely didn't get along, at least. Also, Mark is saying, just asked a question. What Anki is the classic layman's Anki, the one featured in kids' books? That would probably be Ankylosaurus. Which I'll just pop this up again. This is your default Ankylosaur that everybody knows.
So its spikes are on the side, not on its tail.
It did have spikes on its tail, too.
Oh, not this one at least. At least.
I think that a lot of Ankylosaurids did, regardless of if they got tail clubs or not, is they would stiffen the ends of their tail and line it with spikes. So even if they didn't have a club at the end, they still had this giant pole, this giant spiked pole that they could just swing around. And apparently, they're pretty good for defense. Rana is asking, is there any possibility of helping out as a volunteer in the future? All I will say to that is maybe. And I know that sounds non-committal, but I don't know what all is happening next summer. I don't know if we're just going to be looking for fossils. I don't know if we might excavate anything. I don't know yet. But I do appreciate the offer. I'll keep that in mind that people are interested. I think Grayson is interested in coming back too. Let's see, Mark's asking about the structure of the club. Let me get a picture of that. So Ankylosaurus has a kind of weird tail. Okay. So these are two different Ankylosaur tails. This one over here is Ankylosaurus. As you can see, it's mainly composed of 4-ish individual osteoderms, so individual bones in the skin that fuse together at suture lines. And a lot of ankylosaurs with tails had different styles of tails. There seemed to be quite a variety. This one over here is from an ankylosaur called Anodontosaurus. I think that means the toothless lizard. Ron is interested in fossil prep. I mean, if you're near Wyoming, there's always going to be a museum nearby that would probably accept help, like for a volunteer fossil preparator. If you want to just get some experience, want to try it out, just reach out to your local museum. They will almost always accept volunteers. YouTube not showing Hollyhock a join button. I don't know what's going on with YouTube right now. People Tapioca gifted memberships earlier. I can send super chats myself. I don't know.
hopefully we'll figure this out but when we get to our Ceratop section in a month or two.
Hopefully. Also, I'm trying to gift memberships too. Let's see if that works. I would hope it would work. I'm the channel owner. I don't know why it doesn't seem to be going. Yeah, that's weird.
All right, with that cheerful ending to the thing, since YouTube hates us right now, you want to say any closing statements?
None that I can really think of, though. I think Mark's asking where I think it's supposed to be Ankylosaurus fits in with Ankylosaurs. It is one of the most derived ones that lived at the end of the Cretaceous with T-Rex and Triceratops.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm guessing at least how did the predators eat this guy? Did I flip it over to get to the armor? To eat the armor on the side, on the neck, or how did it? How did they get eaten? If they did get eaten,
so that's a fun question. As an adult, for most ankylosaurs, they probably didn't have a whole lot to worry about at all. They probably didn't have anything to worry about. Maybe if they ran into a pack of carnivores, there might be some issue there for them. Actually, they might have been vulnerable to large crocodilians like Deinosuchus. I could see that happening. But with a lot of ankylosaurs, they were really wide and really heavy. And when people call them living tanks, it's really not an exaggeration. They would have been extremely hard to turn over, extremely hard to wound in general. And when they hit back, it would have been devastating, even for the clubless ones.
so it was mainly the babies that had to worry.
Yeah.
So like once you got past a certain age, you're like you're set. You're more or less.
Yeah, pretty much. A Sydney Raptor, Ankylosaurus is an arc. Ankylosaurus is in there. Okay, and no, Mark is insisting he means Ankylodon. I...
Gotta look that up now.
Yeah. Oh, it's a World of Warcraft dinosaur. Yeah, that explains it. You know, let's treat this seriously. What does this look like to me?
I gotta renew my membership with that one of these days.
I've been debating it, but I need more money to do it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a fun rendition of an ankylosaur. If I recall correctly, in game, like they're on the bear skeleton, so they move around like bears, and druids turn into them for their bear form, right? The Zandalari do.
I know. I quit. That's when at the time I quit Warcraft was that patch. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I went back. I did some classic Warcraft.
That's fair. I don't know. I think it's a fun rendition. Like they're not trying to be accurate with it. It's just fun. I give it a B.
Well, we will keep you updated to when we were doing this future episodes.
Okay, wait. Maybe that's not the one he's talking about. Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
Follow up a follow up on your this follow up on your channel or here later.
My bet would be someone misspelled Ankylosaurus or they're referencing some other kind of animal. I don't know. I'm sorry.
We'll see. I will see you all next Saturday for our season finale, and we will see you sometime 2025 for the horny dinosaurs.
Oh dear. Have a good one, everybody.
In the meantime, never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. Bye.